want to say good day to you this Savior time. How are you all?
Great.
All right. You may proceed in whatever manner your imagination so desires. What would you like to discuss with us this day?
Ashar,
Thanks. Good day.
Good day. I'd like to say from all of us that we're very excited to be with you today, and we're very thankful that you're here.
Thank you. Each and every time, any and all of you co-create this kind of interlink, this kind of transmission with us, it also affords us an opportunity to experience through all of you different facets of the multidimensional crystal of creation. So we thank you for this gift of sharing. You may proceed.
We're very happy to be a part of that as well. Thank you. If I may, I'd like to start with a question about the oversoul. I've been listening to you talk about that concept a little bit. And I was wondering if you can clarify a little bit and talk a bit more to us about just the concept of the oversoul and how it connects to the individual souls, how different oversouls kind of interact or connect to each other. And more specifically for me, I'm interested in knowing kind of something about the state of each oversoul and what, kind of like what it's made of, where does it, if there's a physical place where it exists and...
Not exactly.
Okay, so kind of in that direction.
All right. Now, the idea of the oversoul is a level at which consciousness exists, wherein it can, from that level, then, shall we say, split itself into many different individual souls, each of which can then determine what kind of experience it would like to have, individually and independently, even to the point of creating a physical life by manifesting its consciousness through a physical modality, what you would call a body. The oversoul is similar to the idea of the hand in that it has extensions that you call fingers. So the oversoul would be the whole hand, and the individual souls and physical lives would be like the fingers. So the oversoul can experience many, many lives all at once as information from every single individual soul is always feeding back into the oversoul, the collective soul. Does that make sense so far?
So far, yes.
All right. So you can look at it as a vibrational level of consciousness, a vibrational level of energy that allows a much more expanded and aware expression of consciousness to exist that can then individuate itself into different levels of consciousness from that point by lowering its frequency, lowering the frequency of its extensions, so to speak, to whatever point it wishes to, even unto the idea of lowering that frequency of the extension into physical materialization. But it's like a probe. You might say the oversoul is a collective consciousness that can send out extensions or probes into a variety of dimensions, a variety of experiences, and receives along those lines, along those linkages, all of the experience, all the information that those probes, that those extensions are plugging into. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, oversouls obviously can connect in a similar fashion to other oversouls on the same level. Again, what it takes is simply a certain adjustment of frequency to do so. Because remember, frequency is the only thing that differentiates the one consciousness out of which everything is made.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the oversoul itself, a particular signature vibration, thus adjusts its vibration to be that which is inclusive of the vibration of another oversoul, an automatic communication and communion and linkage is made.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right. Does this answer the question specifically enough, or is there some more detail you wish to go into about this idea?
I would like to go into more detail, whether you'd like to just go yourself or I can ask more follow-up questions.
By all means, you may guide the conversation.
Great.
So that we are addressing specifically what it is you wish to learn.
Thank you. So one could say, correct me if I'm wrong, that at the highest level, the oversoul is consciousness itself.
Is the one.
The one, exactly.
Yes.
Now, as you come down from there and it splits off into different levels, and then again down from there and down from there, my question really is, do those do oversouls at those levels only exist in the form of frequency, or is there some physical manifestation at those levels as well that goes on? And to what extent are they aware of themselves as individual oversouls or individual?
It will depend.
Okay.
And what it mostly depends upon is whether or not an environment can be created that can actually handle the physicalization of the oversoul.
Mm-hmm.
For example, dolphins are individualized souls. Whales are multiple dolphin oversouls. You follow me?
No, sorry.
All right. A whale is an oversoul in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
It is the oversoul of a multitude of dolphins. It can physicalize because the environment of the ocean allows for the ability to support a physical mass that is representative of the size of the oversoul. Whereas on land, it is unlikely that your oversoul can manifest because the environment cannot support a physical manifestation of something that large in a single body, as it can in the ocean. But the oversoul can take on certain characteristics that are close to physicalization. And in that sense, it is what would be called the collective consciousness of your planet. What might be referred to as often the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness, the Krishna spirit, however you wish to name it, the idea of that collective consciousness of all your people is the oversoul of your world. And in that sense, it is connected to the physicality of the earth itself, and the earth is somewhat representative of the oversoul of your collective consciousness, but it is not exactly a manifestation of the specific oversoul, but the specific oversoul does take on a kind of physicalization that you would call electromagnetic energy. So, the electromagnetic energy of the planet is as close as possible to physical manifestation as the oversoul collective consciousness of the planet can get. Make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Very much. And one more quick follow-up. So is it fair to say, that's a really good analogy, or rather a good visualization for me, and is it fair to say in that case that there is one oversoul, if you go enough levels up, that all of the physical beings on Earth ultimately connect to or flow from?
Yes.
Okay.
And above that,
exactly,
there is one oversoul that connects all physical beings within, again, a certain grouping, and above that, an oversoul that connects all physical and non-physical beings above a certain grouping, and on and on and on, all the way up to the one. That is everything.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very, very much.
Hi, Bashar. Good day to you. A follow-up to that question.
Yeah.
That is, why does oversoul do that? Why does oversoul?
Because oversoul can. That's its nature.
Any purpose to it?
Well, yes, to learn, to grow, to be, to experience.
Okay.
Remember, that which is does not need a reason to be. It already is. So it just does what it does because it can. Why do you do what you do?
Good question.
Thank you. In other words, what any level of being or consciousness does, it does simply because the thing that it does, ideally, is a representation of its true self. It is simply an expression of what it is. It is a representation, if you will, of its passion, of its truth, of its light. It is simply an expression of who and what it is as an individualized concept within creation. It is simply being itself.
Okay, one more follow-up on this, and I'll give it to Ali. How does this oversoul grow by this experience? I think that's what you just mentioned.
Yes. It becomes more aware of more of all that is. That's what growth is remembering more and more and more of what you are on every level. Growth is always, on every level, more of remembering more of who and what you are as all that is. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does, actually. Thank you very much.